Welcome to Royal Daily Report, your trusted source for royal news and updates. I'm your host, bringing you the stories that matter. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update from Royal Daily Report. Hold on tight, because this is not gossip. This is not whispers from the tabloids. This is Buckingham Palace itself, the very heart of the monarchy, breaking its silence after years of looking the other way. For so long, people wondered about Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Were they really royal heirs? Why did the palace stay quiet? Why did the children never appear in the same way William and Kate's children did? Rumors swirled, questions piled up, but the palace never spoke until now. Sources close to the palace confirm the papers have already been prepared. These aren't temporary memos or warnings. These are final orders that will permanently change the status of Archie and Lilibet. The message is brutal, but simple. Their claim to royal identity is gone. This isn't a family fight. It isn't about who likes who. It's about protocol, about the monarchy's oldest rulebook. And to understand why the crown made this move, we have to go back more than 100 years to a king who set the rules in stone. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Daily Report for more exclusive coverage. The year was 1917. Europe was at war, and the monarchy faced pressure to protect its bloodline from confusion, outsiders, or political threats. King George V stepped forward and issued a declaration known as the Letters Patent. They weren't emotional words. They weren't fiery speeches. They were dry, precise lines of law. But inside those lines were rules that shaped the monarchy for more than a century. The letters laid out exactly who had the right to call themselves prince or princess. The requirements were strict. First, the child had to be of legitimate royal bloodline. Second, the child's birth had to be recognized and recorded by the crown itself. And third, the child had to be formally connected to the Church of England. No shortcuts, no exceptions. For generations, these rules protected the monarchy. They made sure royal titles were not passed out like party favors. They kept the bloodline clear and the hierarchy secure. And here lies the problem. When the crown looked at Archie and Lilibet, it saw children who, through no fault of their own, did not tick every box. Their births, their records, even their ties to the church left cracks that could not be ignored, which is why the moment they were born, the clock was already ticking. The royal machinery was simply waiting for the day it would move. Stay tuned to Royal Daily Report. We bring you the truth. That day began in 2019 with the birth of baby Archie. At first, it seemed to follow the script. Joyful announcements, public smiles, a healthy child. But then something strange happened. Something buried inside the paperwork. On Archie's birth certificate, Meghan was listed by her full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. That was normal. But suddenly, without explanation, the document was altered. Her name was erased and replaced with her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Who does that? Birth certificates aren't fashion statements. They're legal records locked in history. Yet, here was one being rewritten as if it were a press release. Meghan claimed the palace forced the change. Palisades denied it. Both sides pointed fingers, but neither backed down. And in that tug-of-war, a dangerous question was born. Was this about appearances? Or was it about positioning Archie legally in the royal record? Because one thing became clear, the child's entry into history was no longer smooth or simple. It was messy, contested, and surrounded by doubt. And once doubt enters the record, the foundation begins to crack. Remember to subscribe to Royal Daily Report for updates like this. By the time Meghan and Harry welcomed their second child in 2021, the palace had already learned something. Silence was louder than words. When Lilibet Diana was born, the announcement didn't come from Buckingham Palace. It didn't arrive with the sound of royal trumpets, proud doctors, or photographs of the new baby swaddled for the archives. Instead, it came from across the ocean, a cheerful, polished press release from sunny California. For centuries, royal births were more than family milestones. They were events for the history books, carefully documented, witnessed, and recorded. The baby was never just a child. They were a symbol of continuity, living proof that the monarchy carried on. Every detail was preserved from the hospital announcement to the signatures of attending royal doctors. But with Lilibet, nothing. No royal presence, no ceremonial stamp, no acknowledgement from the palace. It was as though the monarchy had turned its back. For those who watched closely, it felt unprecedented, like a curtain quietly falling, signaling that the baby's birth, though celebrated in California, wasn't being claimed by the crown. Royal Daily Report, bringing you the stories others won't tell. If the birth had raised eyebrows, what came next raised alarms. Months later, Meghan proudly announced that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly of the ceremony, the photos, the joy, but behind palace walls, whispers began. Because while Meghan's team considered the baptism official, the Church of England did not. And in the world of monarchy, that distinction matters more than most people realize. A royal christening is not just about sprinkling holy water and taking family portraits, it is about connection. It ties the child to the church, to the crown, and to centuries of royal tradition. It is a seal, one that formally writes the baby into the record as part of Britain's royal history. But palace sources claimed Lilibet's baptism was never formally registered with the Church of England, which meant, in the eyes of royal protocol, it was invalid, a ceremony without recognition. And so, instead of strengthening her place, it weakened it. Instead of cementing her bond with the monarchy, it broke it. The palace allegedly viewed the California christening not as a sacred moment, but as a breach of protocol, a ritual that in royal law didn't count, which left Lilibet in a dangerous limbo, celebrated by her parents, ignored by the institution. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and stay informed. For Meghan, these cracks weren't just about paperwork or church records. They cut at the very heart of her identity. From the moment she stepped into the royal world, her image was built on one foundation. She wasn't just Meghan Markle. She was Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, a royal mother. And her children weren't just kids, they were heirs, heirs to history. That identity powered everything. The Netflix specials, the Spotify deals, the memoir interviews, the carefully curated Instagram portraits, even her new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. She wasn't selling jam jars and photographs of gardens. She was selling a life touched by royalty. But that shine only worked if her children carried the royal link. Without it, the entire foundation crumbles. No royal heirs, no royal mother, just a Hollywood couple trying to hold on to a crown that no longer wanted them. And behind the soft portraits, the polished branding, and the carefully managed public image, Meghan faced a fear she couldn't hide. Without royal bloodlines to pass on, what made her different from every other celebrity in California? Don't miss our next report. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report now. For Meghan, the cracks in protocol threatened her brand. But for Harry, this was personal. This was blood. Sources close to the palace whisper about late nights when Harry would pick up the phone, calling back to the very family he had walked away from. His voice wasn't calm. It wasn't polished. It was emotional, pleading. He begged them to reconsider, begged for his children's future to be written into the royal record. Those who know Harry say he believed he could live as both the son who walked away and the father of children who remained royal. He thought stepping down from duties wouldn't erase their bloodline. He thought his children would still carry the Windsor name forward, no matter how far California seemed from London. But when he tried to explain, when he tried to make his case, the answer he received was ice cold. One palace aide allegedly reduced his pleas to a single sentence. This is not about emotion. This is about order, lineage, and the future of the crown. For Harry, it was like watching the floor vanish beneath him. He wasn't just estranged from his father and brother anymore. He was a prince whose children were being erased from the very institution that gave him his identity. Royal Daily Report, your source for the truth behind the headlines. And then came the move itself. Archie and Lilibet would lose everything. No princely or princess titles, no ceremonial roles, no place in the line of succession, no crown-funded security, no recognition in the official history books of the monarchy. It sounds small, just words, just names, but in the world of royalty, titles are everything. They are the keys to legacy, to recognition, to belonging in the centuries-long story of the crown. Without them, Archie and Lilibet's names are stripped of weight, from Prince Archie to just Archie, from Princess Lilibet to just Lilibet. And unlike suspensions or warnings, this was not temporary. This was permanent. The palace had filed the documents. The record books were being rewritten in real time. And in those pages, Meghan and Harry's children were simply erased. For years, Meghan and Harry had built their image as the royal rebels. They gave interviews, signed deals, told their story to the world. Every scandal, Every documentary seemed to feed that identity. But here's the truth. You can only be a rebel if the crown still claims you. Stay connected with Royal Daily Report for breaking updates. The monarchy understood this. That's why it never shouted across the Atlantic, never answered every media storm with words. Instead, it stayed quiet, patient, watching. And when the time was right, it acted surgically, stripping titles, removing succession rights, cutting the final cord. And so Archie and Lilibet are not rebels. They are not even royal exiles. They are simply outsiders. Children who will grow up in California remembered as Harry and Meghan's, but absent from official royal history. That silence, the lack of their names in the records, will echo louder than any interview or Netflix special ever could. And so we reach the finale. Years of whispers, speculation, documentaries, and interviews, all met with royal silence. End here with the stroke of a pen. The palace has chosen protocol over personalities, order over emotion, legacy over love. For Meghan and Harry, the result is devastating. Their empire, their identity, their brand was built on the promise of being royal rebels. But once the crown erases you, you are no longer a rebel. You are simply gone. Archie and Lilibet will live as children of California. They will grow up in the warmth of their parents' world. But official royal history, the records that outlast generations, will not record them as heirs. And that absence, that silence, is more brutal than any public humiliation, because it is permanent. It is final. This is not just about two children losing their titles. This is about the monarchy sending a message louder than any speech. The crown does not bend to personalities, no matter how famous, no matter how loud. And in that silence, Buckingham Palace has delivered what may be the coldest move in its history. That's all for today's report from Royal Daily Report. We've brought you the palace's final decision, the 1917 letters patent rules, the altered birth certificate, the unrecognized California baptism, and the permanent erasure of Archie and Lilibet from royal records. If you found this information valuable, make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report. Hit that like button, share this video with others who need to know the truth, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next report. This is Royal Daily Report, bringing you royal news that matters. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.